That might.
Well, welcome everybody to our October Forgotten Grapes Wine Club virtual tasting. We are so excited to have Tony Merz with us from San Rucci. Tony, Anthony, which do you prefer?
Let's roll with Tony. We'll go with that
Tony. All
today.
right. And Merz, right? Soft Z.
Stop soft C. You got it right.
There we go. Perfect. Tony Merz is with us from San Rucci Winery. I think I got that right too. It's San Rucci Winery, right?
It,
Not vineyards, not
you're
cellar.
batting.
It should be Ruche, but
We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Or
right.
brig to
because
get.
your Ruche is like saying bruschetta, so grates on my ears.
I don't know who you're addressing that to, but
everyone who says bruschetta.
fair enough. We are excited to have Tony Merz with us tonight to talk all things San Rucci, including the fabulous labels that you guys have on your bottles that everybody has been asking me about and commenting on when I dropped off the wines. Before we begin, of course, we're going to have everybody muted as we always do. And if you want to throw any questions into the chat, please feel free. Allison and I will be monitoring those, and we will throw them out to Tony as soon as those questions come in. And keep an eye out next week for our November email offer. That'll be coming probably midweek next week. And we'll have a little shorter turnaround time on that one, but really, really exciting Central Coast winery that we'll talk about at the end of the hour. So keep an eye out for that, or 90 minutes, I guess. It's not an hour. But as we always begin, we're going to ask Tony the question of what is the most memorable bottle that you have ever opened?
I was gonna act like you hadn't asked that as the opener question, but I was well
everybody knows
prepared.
it's the opener, so that's fine.
Now there's no surprises right now. My most memorable bottle of wine, the one that always sticks out in my mind is kind of different than most. Usually, when you hear people talk about their memorable bottle of wine, it's something from faraway places, France, Burgundy, but mine was actually from Central California, Stephen Ross Pinot Noir from Santa Maria.
Okay.
The memory stands out very clearly. We were on a fishing trip out of Morro Bay with my grandfather, my dad, my uncle. It was all four of us. And there was something about that Pinot Noir. They always say Pinot Noir is the most difficult grape to grow, most hardest wine to make. But when we had that bottle of wine with dinner, the fruit intensity from Santa Maria Central Coast, the velvet tannins and the texture of the wine, it's always been something that stuck out in my mind. It could have been also because I was 20 years old, 19, 20, so not quite of legal drinking age, but nonetheless, Stephen Ross has been a really good a favorite wine of mine. That particular memory stands out. I don't remember beyond the Santa Maria AVA which specific vineyard or where it was, but I know it was Stephen Ross Pinot Noir from the Central Coast.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and Stephen Ross down there in the Edna Valley, one of those kind of not forgotten, but not one of the big ones when you think about it. It's not a Tally or a Tangent or a Chamisol down there, but long legacy making outstanding wines. So that's fantastic. I also imagine that, yeah, after a long day of fishing, when you've been up probably since 5 a.m. to get the boat launched, at that point, pretty much anything would taste good, but a nice, cool Pinot Noir would be hitting the spot as well.
And what was the vintage? Do you remember?
It would have to be somewhere in the early 2000s. So I'm assuming it was like 2003, 2004. It was 2000 and I'd say
it's
six.
lost to the ephemera is the problem.
It is. It was many moons
it looks
ago.
like Stacy's screen right there.
That's
yeah,
true. Yes,
exactly.
the Northern Lights were. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was this before you were making wine, or were you already making wine?
It was. I was in college studying, and I didn't go to college to study winemaking. I was a business major, but it was during those college, that first year of college that we went out on this trip. And um, so, yeah, it was before my winemaking time began.
But your dad was in the wine industry before, so you had exposure at a young age to wine and winemaking, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. So my father did go to school for enology. He went to Fresno State, Bulldog Pride. And his whole career was around winemaking. So I grew up in with him, making wine being consumed every day at family gatherings at the dinner table. Not only that, we're Italian blood. So that was kind of a prerequisite of being Italian is having wine as you're growing up. But yeah, the entry into wine was quite natural. After high school, I was looking for a summer job. Luckily, my dad had a connection to a summer job, and I started in a large production winery as most would know, a cellar rat, doing the grunt work, cleaning the floors, cleaning tanks, doing all the non-fun, sexy things of making wine. But it really gave a good understanding of the what it really takes to make uh, a winery operate, and without a good operated winery, the wine itself is gonna suffer. So that's where my winemaking began, simply as a summer job to pay the bills to go to school. While at school, and after the Stephen Ross wine that I had, I became a little more interested in winemaking. And so on one of those summers coming home, um, so take a step back here. Every summer from during college, I would come home and work either a different winery, a different region, or try to understand a little bit more of the winemaking process. And so one of those summers coming home, I decided that we were going to pick some grapevines that my dad had growing back in the backyard. It was about three muscat vines that he had there, and we were going to make wine. Uh, my dad said that was a terrible idea. He makes wine every day at work, so the last thing he wants to do when he gets home is make more wine. And I said, you know what? I'll be a Renaissance man. I'm going to do it myself. Decided to go out there, pick the vines, crushed them by hand. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. Uh, and it turned out absolutely terrible. Not able to be drank. It went down the drain probably a week later. And from then on there, he said, I can't have a son not know how to make quality wine. So he and I, from that point forward, started making wine, and that was the impetus to starting San Rucci. I convinced him to plant 50 vines in his backyard while I was away from school, and he decided that they were going to do it. And so they ripped out the grass in the backyard, planted these vines of varying varietals, and he and my mother farmed them. And we made wine as a family. It was a really great intro into the family winemaking business.
Look at the trouble it got you into.
Yes.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they still complain about it today. Our grass has never looked the same. Well, yeah, but you got wine out of it, so
It's true. Do those are those muscat vines still there?
you know they aren't. Unfortunately, they got disease ridden and they got ripped out.
Interesting. So it's kind of fascinating. Was there well, before I ask that question, we should basically take people through. So we're going to
Yeah.
obviously start with the Vino Bianco that we'll be drinking tonight. Then we'll move on to the Ruche, or Ruki, as Allison likes to call it, but hard
Okay.
hard k sound on that one.
Yeah.
Then we'll be doing the Nebbiolo and then the Montepulciano for those who are drinking along at home, or just want to keep track of it. But it's interesting because clearly with your dad immersed in the space, it sounds like there wasn't a lot of pressure for you to follow him into the family business. You kind of intended to go in a different direction, but clearly you had enough curiosity in you that you were pulled back in, it sounds like.
Yeah, growing up, I really had no interest in becoming a winemaker. There were plenty of things that I had interest in, I played football, so I was interested in becoming a professional football player, but that got ruled out real quick. And then I really enjoyed engineering, but when I started school, I lost interest in the harder mathematics classes, and so that kind of got ruled out. And I found myself enrolled in business school. By that time, I had worked for four different wineries, and everyone I talked to said, if you're interested in wine, at the end of the day, it's a business. If you have a business degree, you can learn winemaking, and that's the guidance I took from them. So I ended up graduating with a business degree. My dad had no real pressure to say, follow my footsteps, become a winemaker. But the things that interested me about wine was the agricultural piece, that you could be working in a vineyard. It's hard work, but it's rewarding work in the vineyard. But then also the actual, creative aspect of finding grapes that are grown in different ways and seeing the flavor profiles you can pull out of them, the mechanics of the whole process, sorting the grapes and working with the different styles of equipment to make sure that you're, pressing out to a certain pressure to not over extract flavors. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of curiosity there that caught my eye. And that's, I think, what, was the wine bug, if you will, for me, was just the curiosity around the whole process. And um, yeah.
Yeah.
One would argue that a business degree would have taught you better not to get into the wine industry.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So I must not have been a very good business degree student.
But
There's
when the
also
wine bug bites, you don't really listen to the logic.
There is none. Yeah, you're right. The dollar, you just figure out the dollar signs and what you need to do just to get it done, and go on a hope and a prayer sometimes.
Yeah, never follow the sexy businesses, because they always end up being not sexy. It's like running a rubber roller factory or something. That's where the real money's made. But
I've never met anyone that ran a rubber roller factory. So if
I'll
you
I'll
have any,
I'll I'll introduce you around. I'm very,
Are,
very well connected in the rubber
are there
rolling
really
industry.
any left in the US? My guess
Oh,
is that's all overseas.
no, there's a tremendous amount of roll. Well, yeah, I mean they're more of a, they're a importer and assembler, but you still got to have the rubber rollers out there. It's a brokerage, but still, it's a big industry around here. No, I was going to say you avoided math in college, and yet here you are, in a fairly scientific math oriented job, because there certainly are a lot of numbers and chemistry and whatnot that you've got to deal with on the winemaking side of things.
yeah, you're right. And for those, Excel has proven to be very useful. You Google it once, you put it in Excel, and you save it. And as long as it saves well, it'll be fun. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There is some math and science involved in the process.
Yeah. So take us through the evolution then, from you graduate, you decide, you've worked for some wineries, you're kind of in the space at that point. And fairly quickly you and your dad decided, okay, we're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna launch San Rucci Cellars, like our San Rucci Winery. How did that come about? And how did you guys decide to really focus on, Italian varietals?
Yeah, it has certainly been a progression. So, you know, like I mentioned, we had the vines in the backyard. That really was a fun yearly passion project. It was just something that it was to feed creativity and something to just do for ourselves and share with friends and family. But after I graduated school, started working for some larger operations. Uh, the, the Central Valley is where I grew up, and so it's where I stayed. And in the Central Valley, there are very large operations making wine that you can find either at your grocery store or even some higher end wines. But really, that was where my career went. And I kind of felt pigeonholed in making 10 bottles of wine that all tasted the same. There's nothing wrong with that. Just it wasn't something that I felt after 5 or 6 years is really what I wanted to continue to do. And so, in talking with my parents, I just shooting the breeze and saying, I'm kind of over making everyday wine. I want to make something a little more unique. And my mom and dad, after they got married and my dad was working at the winery, they always had a dream of having a winery. So it's the classic, we enjoy the wine lifestyle. We make wine. And so it was, why not try to do our own brand and our own wine, share wine with others that we enjoy making, kind of represent who we are as winemakers, and have fun with it. That was really the evolution.
Nice. So, at that point, okay, we're gonna make wine and we're gonna focus on, I imagine the vines in the backyard were not any Italian varieties. You were probably, what did you have? Petite Syrah, Zinfandel, things like that.
Yeah, we had a couple of Portuguese varieties, but you're right.
Okay.
They were not overly Italian. There were two Italian varieties back there, Muscat and Barbera. So when we first started out on making wine, like I said, it was an evolution. We wanted to start out small. We were bootstrapping our operation. And we do have some friends in the industry that we could use their winery spaces to make wine. And so right off the bat, we knew we wanted to do something a little bit different. So uh, we started out with Cabernet Franc.
Mhm.
And not only was it Cabernet Franc from California, it would have you could have gone to Napa or Sonoma or Paso, but we decided to go to San Diego County,
Oh,
believe it
wow.
or not. So eastern San Diego County, in a higher elevation area, was a vineyard that we found through friends in the industry and started making Cabernet Franc. Really enjoyed it. It kind of fit in with a um, uh, almost like a Sangiovese blend.
Hmm.
The way it was aromatic but from there, the vineyard ownership changed. Our direction kind of changed. We wanted to branch out and go to a vineyard area that was a little more close to where we were living, and
Right.
Paso was that. So we ended up heading out to Paso, making some Zinfandel, and really the Italian piece came after that. That kind of venture out to the coast. We got into conversations with a wide variety of growers, and one of the connections that I made was with a grower in San Benito County, John Soletto, and his dad, Ron. Oddly enough, Ron, John's father, and my father worked together in a winery and at the Almaden Winery group,
Yeah.
and I went, it was probably the early 80s.
Making
And
those lovely sweet
Ron
rosés.
Soletto, uh, exactly, yeah. Ron Saletto had a very unique portfolio of Italian varieties.
Yeah.
And so, really, after reconnecting with him, that's where our interest in Italian varieties came from. My initial find was Montepulciano. My grandmother happens to come from the Abruzzo region, where Montepulciano is king. From there, it was just conversations with Ron and his son John of, oh, we have some Vermentino over here that is still available for sale. Would you like to try that? Oh yeah, I would love the Vermentino. I've been trying to get Vermentino from Paso Robles, but it's a hot sell there, so I haven't been able to nail some down. And from there it was Ruche is available. I have never heard of Ruche before. Of course, I want to try a ton of Ruche. So the curiosity happened, and I think it just felt natural that it happened to be Italian varieties and that we are of Italian heritage. So it felt kind of close to us. It wasn't like we set out to make Italian varieties. I want to say we were kind of lost in the first few years of what our identity was until we found uh, that we were interested in Italian varieties and really kind of jumped in all in, I'd say about 3 years ago. And really that's the bulk of our production is Italian varieties now.
Yeah, nice. I want to transition over to talk about the Vino Bianco, but also get into your family heritage because people are hearing about your Italian heritage, but they're looking at a name like Anthony Merz and going, "That's not exactly Italian." But in the same way that your family and another family kind of meshed, the Italian side meshed together with another family, it feels like the same thing with the Pinot Bianco, with the Falanghina and the Vermentino on this one.
Well, in fairness,
Yeah,
Anthony is an Italian name.
Anthony is an Italian name, yes, but
First,
it
they
is.
lost one of their vowels at the end.
unless you grew up in like Alto Adige, but then you'd be
Yeah,
making Kerner and Legrine.
that's actually a very relevant point. So let's start off with the Vino Bianco first. So Vino Bianco is our second white wine that we made. It's a blend of mainly Falanghina and a little bit of Vermentino. I'd say 60-40 is roughly the split. Falanghina came from a vineyard called the Soleto Ranch, which is in San Benito County, about say 5 miles south of Hollister. So if you guys are very familiar with Hollister,
Yeah,
it's Airline Highway, and you're a few miles down, a wonderful spot for, I would say, growing wine grapes.
yeah. A few
The
years ago, we
Soleto,
had. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say. A few years ago, we featured Eden Rift down in that Cienega Valley and talked about how close to the coast it is and how cool it gets in that valley
And on the fault line.
absolutely.
and on the fault line. Yes.
Absolutely. So they're on the western side of the valley. This vineyard's on the eastern side. Uh, we don't have limestone soils where they have those ravines of limestone going through their vineyard. So we're mainly on, I say, decomposed granite, a little bit of sand, and even a little bit of clay because the vineyard is set on a wash. So in heavy rain months, you'll get a pretty substantial river that flows through, and it does bring in a fair amount of clay. So the Falanghina is set up a little bit on a ridge, so it has plenty of sunlight, nice airflow. The one thing that's unique about this area is on the eastern side is you're not quite as warm as Paso. You do get a fair amount of heat, and you don't have as big of a diurnal temperature shift overnight. And I think that's key for our Italian varietals there is when you think of Italy, they don't have as big of a diurnal shift in their weather patterns and their
Mhm.
viticultural areas as Paso. Paso can fully ripen Italian varieties, no problem. But I think that's what sets this area a little bit apart from Paso. And so the Falanghina, stainless steel fermented, a very short amount of lee stirring before keeping it in stainless steel barrels. The Vermentino was grown right across that wash that I was just talking about, so a little bit more of a valley floor vineyard,
Mhm.
and they ripen completely different times. The Vermentino was a super late ripening year when we picked it. It was, I want to say it was the week right before Thanksgiving,
Oh
was
wow.
when the
For a
Vermentino came
white
off.
grape, that's crazy long.
Yeah, the Falanghina. So Falanghina naturally is a very high acid grape. And so the picking pattern for our Falanghina is really acid levels. We have no problem getting sugar. It's making sure that the acid levels of the Falanghina are right, and then we'll pick. But usually that's our last grape come in is Falanghina. This year, it was the Vermentino after Falanghina. Falanghina, the Vermentino is a completely different winemaking process. Barrel fermented, left in acacia barrels on lees for 8 months. Um, and then we stirred about every other week. And so really we wanted to try to have a really good texture on the palate and kind of explore acacia fermentation with Vermentino. We thought the balance of blending the two together gave a nice fruity characteristic with the ripeness of the Falanghina, the acid level of the Falanghina, but then also the rich structure of Vermentino.
Got really nice texture. Just, it is that kind of soft texture, not too intense, but it's rounded, not creamy, but rounded and good acidity. It's a yummy, yummy white wine.
Yeah, very, very easy to drink. You said this is the second white wine you made. Was the first white similar blend, or was that something different?
First white was 100% Falanghina.
Okay.
So
Nice.
we decided to kind of shift gears and do a Falanghina Vermentino blend. And so yeah.
Nice.
The
Yeah.
label on this wine is, so you asked about the labels. The labels
Yes.
are all old family photos. So we have at the end of harvest, as we're preparing for bottling, we sit down as a family and usually go through photo albums of old family photos, and conveniently drink 3 or 4 bottles of wine while we're debating which label goes where. But I've been very lucky that both sides, my mother and my father's side of the family, kept good care of old family photos. And I don't know how it happened. They moved from Chicago to California, Ohio to California. There are stories of, fires in Ohio. So I don't know how the family photos survived the travels and, the 80 years of life, but they did. So the photo on this Vino Bianco is of my father's side. That's my paternal grandmother, Loretta, excuse me, not Loretta. Jackie Sanfilippo is her maiden name, but she's Jackie Merz, hence where the Merz comes in. And then her sister, Dorothy Sanfilippo.
That's very clear.
Yes, yeah, that's where the Merz comes in. Here's what,
Yes.
and that's Merz with a Z, not Merz with an S, which you do not want to come in because it's
Yes.
incurable.
Yes. Yeah. So it was the reason we chose this photo for the Vino Bianco is it just seemed like a fun picture for a fun wine. My grandmother and great aunt had the classic 60s, 50s, 60s haircut. They were in the backyard, and when they were living in Vegas, for some reason we just felt like it fit the vibe of Vino Bianco.
Absolutely. And two disparate grapes, two different women there. Like I'm sure personalities were different as well, but blended, in the way that harmoniously comes together.
Exactly. I like you read the text sheet. Very good.
Yeah, exactly. I do my research.
But you're right. That was another piece too. Was they're two Italian women, different personalities. They had fun together, and it was always fun hanging out both of them. So yeah, Jackie and Conchetta, also known as Dorothy.
Nice. Sure. Somehow you get Dot out of Conchetta. We'll go with that. I don't know. I know it's like, yeah, you had to Americanize yourself at times to let your neighbors know who you were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So to expand a little more about the Merz, so my grandmother Jackie and my grandfather Bill, he's German, believe it or not. They met in Chicago, and therefore,
Hence the Z at the end of the
I was
name.
going to say Germans and Italians in Chicago. I'm shocked.
and
Next, you're going to tell me there's a big Polish population there.
and ever since then, it's added confusion to the Italian part of our family, but we'll leave it at that.
That's fantastic.
I will say when I was in Sicily last month, and I was at a winery, and the name of the winery is Teresa Ecker.
Very Italian.
And you're like, okay, I don't get it, but he was very proud to say that his wife is German and he named it after her. And I was like, well, because seeing a bunch of Italians trying to say Ecker is like
that
Merz, like they just can't do it. There's no accent at the end.
Well, and that's down in Sicily, which is fascinating because I mean, you
Yeah.
go up into, like we were saying earlier, the Alto Adige, and you have like Elena Volk, and all
Yeah, but they
these,
don't
like,
speak
you see,
German.
right, you see a ton of umlauts and whatnot up there. So
Yeah, because they're all fluent in German.
no, no umlauts down in Sicily.
But
Is this the Falanghina Vermentino? Is this a blend that you guys are planning to kind of stick with on the Vino Bianco? Are there plans to expand into other whites? You mentioned earlier Vermentino. It seems like that's a grape you may have a little bit of a passion for. Is that something you're kind of looking into, or what's your white wine plans?
Yeah, our white wine plans, definitely adding more varieties. Vermentino is a probably the number one grape of interest in there. The hardship we've had is just finding the right grower that we enjoy working with, who has enough tonnage available for us to make wine from. Outside of that, we have a strong interest in. I really enjoy aromatic whites, so muscats. Uh, but when they're in a dry fashion, a dry style, it's very unique. So I want to kind of continue down that as well. Most people are used to a sweet muscat, but the dry muscats there's so much diversity. There are even pink and red muscat aromatic grapes that you can make and into a rosé wine.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see it going. Our white program going is definitely adding Vermentino. It would be great to do a sparkling wine at some point. Our setup is limited in, so our winery doesn't have the right equipment to do that. And so I think that it would be
We'll talk. We'll talk. You and I'll talk
yeah,
offline, and we'll
yeah.
yeah. Perfect. No, that's fascinating, sort of the move towards, I mean, there were the old Moscatel wines, which there were a lot of Italian varietals that did, or Italian wineries that did the Moscatels back in the day, which used a lot of those kind of red and pink muscats to produce those sweeter pink, sweeter red wines. Not that you're going to go that. I mean, you certainly can go the dry route. I might also have an in on some Vermentino for you here in Basso
Ah,
if you're interested. So we'll talk. We always love to hear your thoughts on food pairings with the wines. So what are some of the food items that you would pair with this? It does not have to be Italian. We're not going to put you into that box if you don't want to be.
fish tacos is my
Oh,
favorite with this. And then outside of that, uh, my wife and I are lovers of scallops. So
mhm.
uh, just simply seared with olive oil, and this would be another go-to. Um, you can certainly do, I think, chicken, but those I like fish tacos. So this would be great. I'd say probably stick with something a little bit on the lighter side, a little more rich with acidity that can
Yeah.
cut through it. That'd be
Yeah, it
wonderful.
feels like with the kind of heft and weight of the scallops plus that little bit of sweetness with the roundness of the Vermentino kind of balancing the acidity of that Falanghina. And then same thing with the fried, if you're using a nice fried fish on the fish taco with a white sauce and cabbage, that's all of those are very heavy textural things. So I can see that pairing really nicely with this.
I think Jody might be frying up some fish tacos now.
Absolutely.
I
She
think,
had yes.
I think that, if you had on the scallops, maybe a kind of a lemon or a citrus sauce, because you want the acidity, because the creaminess, you want to bring out both of the things in the wine, and the wine has enough texture that it could go with something a little sharper, like fish tacos, not sharper, less creamy.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm gonna have to figure out how far the closest Rubio's is from us to order some fish tacos.
Aren't you near that Pier 46 or whatever?
We're not too far from it, so yes, but I think they're closed right now. But
They have good fish tacos.
they do. Yeah, there's Rubio's and there's Wahoo's though. Like growing up in SoCal, those were Those were your go-tos when it came to fish tacos. So
Wahoo's definitely is a special place.
yeah, yeah, you get that the rice and beans with it. That's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to Allison's favorite wine to pronounce. Go ahead, Allison.
Okay.
Ruche. Yes. Not Ruche, not Ruche, not Ruki,
Nope.
but
Not rookie. We
Ruche.
get a lot of rookie.
Well, you know, the lesson to remember in Italian is that when you see CH, that's a K. They don't have a K in the Italian alphabet, so CH makes the sound K. And then when you say CI, that's when you get CH, cha. So
like
CI
chicken
is cha and
cacciatore.
CH is K. There you go. It's bruschetta and
And that's when you
Okay.
say checkmate.
And checkmate.
Beautiful. So take us through the journey to you discovering Ruche. Was this a grape that you had had before? It sounds like it was something that Ron basically offered you and you kind of took it taste unseen, I guess, taste untasted.
Taste untasted. Ask It's exactly how it happened. So we had never heard of Ruque before. No background whatsoever about the history of the grape. But it's mid-season, the growing season. We'll drive up to check on Montepulciano. And yeah, John and Ron are both, hey, we have a Ruque over the hill. And past the Montepulciano vineyard down a little way, and we have about half it sold. You interested in Riquet? And it's like, what the hell is Riquet? So instantly I said, yeah, I'll take at least a ton. No idea what it was, what it looked like, how it was supposed to taste, or what different variations tasted like. So, during harvest, my initial plan was, okay, so in Bakersfield, I'm assuming most of you are in Southern California, so you have some idea of what Bakersfield might be like as you're driving through. There aren't a huge selection of wine shops that are diverse enough to have a Ruquet to go in and buy.
I
So
mean,
in my
and in
mind,
fairness, Tony, in fairness, it's not the easiest thing to find in a city like LA either. It's
no,
really,
it's not.
really, really hard.
Yeah.
Italian
So
restaurants don't have it on their wine list. Like, it's a
true.
rare one. I mean, it was
it's-
almost a deceased grape, so I mean, it's
yeah. So in my mind, this is not, me and mid-harvest not even thinking straight. I'm like, okay, well, I signed up for at least a ton. Probably in the back of my mind, I'm probably gonna get 2 tons of Bouquet. I'm gonna drive to LA in my free time, which is non-existent. I'm gonna buy a bottle of Bouquet or two or three or four. We're gonna taste them, kind of get a game plan going. None of that happened. There was no time to go to LA. Couldn't find any online to get shipped in. The grapes were ripe. We drove up, we picked the grapes, drove them back to Bakersfield, and processed them. And really, our approach was keep it simple. We had no idea, no expectations. So it was destem the grapes, ferment them in a neutral barrel. And so we ended up not even getting a full ton of grapes. We ended up getting about 3/4 ton, which makes it a very awkward volume to push through a winery. So that's why we decided to ferment them in a barrel. It was the best option for the volume of grapes to keep everything kind of the checks and balances in line. And that was it. We fermented in native yeast. We didn't add any yeast. It just spontaneously fermented before we added yeast. So that was kind of a fun surprise. And then we pressed out the wine and put it in neutral French oak. We chose neutral French oak because we really wanted to showcase the fruity nature or what any characteristic the grape had because we had no expectations. And so it was neutral French oak. We aged it for about 14 months and then removed it from barrel and bottled it as a standalone grape. So the things that caught us by surprise are the aromatics. I would love to get anyone's thoughts on the aromatics of the grape. I certainly would share what I want, but I don't want to lead the group. So that's what I loved about Ruche is as this is the grape the wine that I try to get the most interaction with people on because most of the time no one's heard of it, no one's seen it, and it really kind of challenges your sensory, analysis of the wine. Um, so yeah, drop it in the chat if you can. But since we were put it in a bottle, we went down and grabbed a couple of different representations of Ruche. Allison, you're absolutely right. It's difficult to find even in LA. It's difficult to find in wine shops online in Chicago, New York. We found a few. Vintages are varied, so it's hard to do a vintage to vintage comparison. But most of the grapes, most of the Ruche, I'd say probably 99.9% of it, are all grown in the Piedmont region of Italy.
100%.
And
I don't know. I don't know it grown other than this small amount in California.
Yeah.
It's a Piemontese grape that was almost extinct. That fortunately, it was a local priest who had revived some in his church, and thank God for that because it would have been one of those many wonderful Piemontese grapes that had gone by the wayside because it was lighter bodied or whatever reason it was that it just fell out of favor in the old days, disease, whatever.
yeah, and that's exactly what we found as well. So in the vineyard, it grows very similar to Pinot Noir. So I would imagine that back in the 1800s or 1700s in Piedmont, you know, fungal pressure was a problem, crop load was a problem, and so if you're farming for either your own production of grapes to turn into wine or selling to others, this might be a very difficult one to grow. So then everyone converted into uh, uh, making Nebbiolo. But in California, I have only outside of Ron's vineyard, I don't know of anyone else growing it. Allison, I don't know if you or Chris have heard of anyone else
Here's
growing
all
it.
you need to know. I was looking at the total acreage by grape variety or grape variety by
Yeah.
acreage chart for 2024. And it's got, Nero d'Avola is on there with like 63 acres. Montepulciano, I think, is at like 74. Ruche is not listed anywhere. So I think there's a very, clearly we're talking probably a dozen acres or less of this, and probably no more than one or two vineyards that would feature this.
My guess is Spoleto is the one, like that has it. I don't even know. I'd have to ask. Next time I talk to Sam Bilbro at Idlewild, I'll ask him because he's doing Frisia and Grignolino, but I've never heard him talk about Ruche, and I don't know that he or Martha Stuman, well, she does more Southern Italian, but I don't know either of them have ever talked about having Ruche. And they work with Lost Hills and Ima Vineyard, which have a lot of Italian grapes, but not Ruche, as far as I know.
Yeah, and even Grignolino was, Heights had a fair amount of that for many, many years and kind of developed it. But yeah, I don't know any older vineyards that have held on to Ruche other than Spoleto.
Yeah, so the story I got from Ron about how they ended up with Ruche, his family's from the Piedmont region, and so he went back and I thought it was a suitcase, bring back where he went to the vineyard, grabbed a couple of clippings, threw it in his suitcase, flew it back. But I think it was actually the more approved route because the vineyard itself is healthy without any disease, which makes me think that they went a more routine route. But that was it. It had a family history of that region. Went back on a trip, was tasting wine, had an interest in it. He's like, I have my 40 acres of vineyard in San Benito. Why not add some Ruche to that? So he has a 5-acre block, and we were able to get that about 3/4 of a ton of grapes. So the picture here, my maternal great grandfather, my mom's side
Mhm.
of the family, um, and a family friend uh, on the picture there. The idea behind this picture was they're having a family get together. Um, they're just hanging out in Pennsylvania, and what we found about Ruche is there's an old saying in Italy that if you can tell if someone likes you because they want to spend time with you, they're going to break out the bouquet and share it with you.
Mm.
So we thought that was a great representation of that. And we like to share our bouquet with anyone that comes into the winery or anyone that's interested in Italian wines. So we thought that was the perfect matching of this family photo for that wine. The bouquet is definitely something special, and we would like to continue sharing it with people. Limited production, 30 cases, because like I said, it was the 75 or 0.75 tons of grapes we brought in all bottled
Mm.
into this one 100% bottling of Ruche.
Your label is promoting smoking. I'm kind of surprised the TTB allowed you to have that. I kid.
Yeah, I know,
But
I'm not
you can
revealing
see the
anything.
cigarette in his fingers. Yeah.
I'm like,
You got
I
to look
mean,
real closely to see the cigarette. Also,
yeah.
who's the stone-faced bombshell on the far right of the
Okay, so my grandmother is 96 years old, and I've been trying to ask her who that is, and she, unfortunately, she can't remember, but that's no surprise at 96, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's Gabriella. You do not
Yeah,
want to know about Gabriella.
I got some stories about her.
She was so much trouble. Oh my God.
So we're getting pepper on the
We're
nose.
getting pepper, wild
Jody,
strawberry, cherry. Yeah. I'm actually
absolutely.
I get almost like a wildflowers as kind of a primary scent. Like there's definitely sort of a violet wildflower, kind of an earthy but floral note to it.
This is great because there are, in my experience in sharing this wine, there are two camps. You have one camp that gets pepper and bright, juicy red fruits, wild strawberry, ripe cherry, and peppery notes. But then I'm of the, so that's my wife and my mom and my dad. That's definitely what they get every single time. Every single time I smell this wine, I get the floral aspect. And then
Mhm.
you get that camp as well, where I like to say, it's almost it, it pains me to say this, but I'll be honest. I get almost like a geranium type aroma,
Okay.
which is interesting. But it's definitely in a floral thing, not in a negative sense. But that's
No.
kind of where my 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 nose goes on it.
I get
But
the floral thing, but it almost, and I don't think you have any stem inclusion. I don't think it's stemmy, but it has more of the whole flower. It's got the stem,
Yeah.
everything to it. It's got, you know,
There is that greener note like Allison's talking about, which is why I kind of leaned into wildflower because
yeah,
wildflowers tend to have that more earthy kind of greenish note to them. So
it's all I love. I'm glad you said that, Chris, because that's what I noticed about when I pour this. Like I said, there's two camps. You get really peppery, bright red fruits, juicy fruits, but then you end up with another camp and then more floral. I find it is great, slightly chilled. I don't know how everyone's drinking it right now,
yep. That's exactly what
but
I did. I had this in the refrigerator for the last couple of days and then obviously pulled it out a few, half an hour, 40 minutes before we started here, and it's just drinking fabulously. It reminds me a lot of some of those like classic Northern Italian varietals like Schiava, Scarpetino, Pilla Verga that have that high acidity. There's a floral note to them. But they just have the body to go well. Even like Albarosso was another one that goes really well from Piedmont with that high acidity.
yeah. The tannin structure, it's a softer wine. It's not a big, bold, tannic wine.
Mhm.
Um, I think part of that is the vineyard where it was grown and the style of being on a trellis and the way we process it and the winery. We didn't spend extended amount of time on the skins. So I think there's part of that that goes into it. But I think also just the type of the warmth of California and the amount of sunlight we get here versus Northern Italy is a little bit different too. Because if you stack it against the Northern Italy wines, what I've noticed is the color's a little bit different.
Hmm.
In Italy, it's a little bit darker, and then also it's a little bit more strong, heavier tannins. So I think that's where I find the difference between the two. Food wise,
And you find that Italian Ruche is more tannic?
I did, yeah, on
Oh,
the
no, I
examples I got.
mean, interesting. I mean,
That is very
I've had
interesting.
a few. It's not like we've said, it's not the easiest grape. It's not like when I've been to Piemonte, I've had many Ruches. I really have.
Yeah,
You're one of the few Ruches I've had, and then on multiple occasions. So.
thank you, Forgotten Grapes, right?
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, the I think for the food pairings, it's a classic Northern Italy grape. And I think it kind of falls into a similar camp as Nebbiolo in a sense that it kind of has similar aromas. It definitely doesn't have a similar structure, but it in my mind stands up to um, stewed and braised meats.
Hmm.
But I find this great with a classic burger.
I can definitely see that. For me, it's crying out for either carpaccio with a nice, like, bitter rocket, arugula salad on top of it, or like breciola. Like, just, I can see either of those, like, even with the little bit of smoke from the breciola, like, I think would be just absolutely divine with this.
I will say that Oruke is actually a grape that can pair well with tomatoes.
Hmm.
And so, because of that, because not every grape works with tomatoes, um,
Mm-mm.
I actually had a glass of this the other night, and I made um, spaghetti, like spaghetti with just some fresh tomato, garlic, and mozzarella. Super simple, and it was a perfect pairing. It was delicious.
Yeah.
It didn't fight with the tomatoes. I didn't have a heavy tomato sauce. It was just fresh tomatoes that I kind of, simmered for a while. But it didn't. The acidity of the tomatoes did not overpower the wine at all.
I can definitely see that. The other thing that I think would just be, I hate to keep going raw with this, but the other thing I think would be just absolutely killer is like sushi grade ahi or toro, like just a nice thick slab of that with just a sprinkling of sea salt and pepper on top of it. I think would just, that this wine would just absolutely murder it in the best possible way.
Pier 46, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm suddenly getting very, very hungry, but I want like raw red fish with this. Just like, this is deliciousness. This wine hits all of my receptors. Like, I may be madly in love with this wine, I won't lie. It it hits everything I need. So I might be
It's got
getting a
enough
case.
texture and body but still a lift, a fresh lift at the end. So makes it food
I
friendly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this because you know, you will be my Ruque source, but is Ron like, are you taking all of the Ruque, or is there other vines that he's selling, other grapes he's selling off to others? Do you know of, or
Yeah, there have been others.
okay.
I this year is a little bit different. We're not able to get a harvest this year from him. There
Hmm.
was some uncontrollable things with his vineyard.
Oh,
Um, I personally think there were some wild boar that got in there and ate the
oh,
vineyard.
yeah.
So unfortunately, this year there's going to be a pause on the Rouquet.
Okay.
But yes, there are others that are getting. I don't take the whole vineyard. It's a little bit too much for us. I would love to, um, but
Um,
unfortunately,
According to a Google search with a little AI jumping in there, several wineries in California, primarily in Sonoma County, Rhine Cellars.
Okay.
Ryan,
But
yes,
guess
they
where
do
they
take
get
some.
guess where they get it from?
Yes, a little.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
Tansy, I believe Tansy gets some too.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, because it's in their
that would
blend.
make sense.
They don't
Yeah.
do 100%. They do it in their blend. Um,
I
and
think
then
Ryan Sturm had it from them for a harvest or two as well. So I think a fair amount of people go in and try it,
Yeah.
whether it fits with their style or not. Yeah.
yeah, and then I think also it's I don't know, it's according to this, it says Bacchus Landing might feature producers who have it or similar style wines. And then a winery, ART Winery, but I've never heard of them, so I don't know if they still exist.
ART. And there is no more Bacchus Landing, right? Didn't that shut down, or I thought something happened there? Oh no, it was just somebody left there. Sorry, it was Montan Roos left there. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what AR period T period winery is. So
It's art.
A
It's
AI is wrong.
shocking. Shocking. No, this wine is beautiful, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. And yes, if you ever, I feel like you need to press your grandmother to find out who the woman on the label is, because I'm intrigued at this point. So beautiful.
I'll add that to our next family discussion. Grandma.
So earlier you had said that Pinot Noir is, the like most difficult grape to work with. But what I always had heard was that Nebbiolo is the grape that you work with once you've mastered Pinot Noir. So let's move on to your Nebbiolo, because in some circles, this is the true heartbreak grape. Or I guess
You know what they say? Do you know what they say about Dolcetto?
What do they say about Dolcetto?
Dolcetto is what you drink while you're waiting for your Nebbiolo to mature.
I'd heard that about Barbera. That was the reason they planted
Barbera too. But both of them, yeah, because this thing needs
some time.
Basically, yeah. They needed Barbera to drink and sell now while they waited for the Nebbiolo to go. But yeah, the thin-skinned, fickle, small bunches, high tannins, high acid. It's like Pinot Noir on steroids, if you're willing to go that route. But take us through how you came to discover Nebbiolo, why you decided to work with it. Once again, San Benito, also from Soleto Vineyards.
Also from Soleto Vineyards. This is one of those other ranches, so not not the same ranch that you've had Falanghina or Ruche from. So Nebbiolo, I never set out to make a Nebbiolo. It never crossed my mind like, oh, I'm gonna buy Nebbiolo from John Soleto. It was looped into a handshake deal with some Ruche. So
Oh, it's
you get Ruche, you take
if
some
you
Nebbiolo.
yeah. Oh, you're like a distributor these days.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I guess we're making Nebbiolo this year, Dad. So here it came. And it actually was a really fun wine to make, and I'm very proud of how it's turned out. Along the same vein of Ruque, our approach was keep it simple. Um, California Nebbiolo, there's different areas that grow it, and some examples are really interesting, and some kind of are a little bit less interesting, I would say. So I wasn't sure what to expect from Nebbiolo in San Benito County, so our approach was keep it simple. Um, Brought it again down to the winery in Bakersfield and fermented it in neutral. Well, it actually fermented in our fermenting bins, and then was put into neutral French oak for aging. Um, the I think the thing that we did that was different than others do is we bottled our Nebbiolo before, I would say, relatively young in age. As we were tasting it in the barrel, we noticed that the tannin structure and the aromas of the wine, the tannins certainly weren't as uh, bold as typical Nebbiolo tannins at the stage we were tasting it. We really enjoyed the fruitiness of it. We get a lot of, I'd say, darker fruits and even some dried fruit qualities to it. And so when we bottled the wine, we thought it was going to be able to age gracefully for 5 to 6 years in bottle and still maintain a lot of the characteristics that we really enjoy the wine then. And so that's why we bottled it. I'd say it was 13 months after barrel aging,
Oh,
and then
wow.
we bottle aged it for 9 months before releasing. Um, Neutral French oak to really showcase what San Benito County is all about for Nebbiolo on Roncelo's Vineyard. Um, and that was our approach. Very simplistic, but the yield of that was, I think, great. I think this is tasting fantastic right now. It's we bottled it 2 years ago. Um, it takes a while to open up, but you get great you know, cherry notes. I get a little bit of rose petal on the nose. Um, some people say they get slightly dried fig. I'd be curious to see if you guys get that. But that's the Nebbiolo. The label here is my grandfather on my mom's side. So that's Lou Beccarucci. He loved having photos taken of himself, and he always had leisure suits on. So we my thought about this picture is the Nebbiolo is the king grape of of Italy.
Of Piemonte.
Barbaresco and Barolos are the
Yeah.
big macho masculine. Yeah, exactly. And in this picture, that's what I embodied him as. Like that stance he had, the family crest with the swords behind it. That I thought was the perfect representation of what everyone thinks of Nebbiolo. And this being our California version, it was put Grandpa B on there, Grandpa Beccarucci.
I mean, I look at that label and I think, I'm about to go out on stage and play Ace of Spades as loud and as fast as I can. He's got a
That,
lot of Lemmy Kilmister in him right there, but
yeah,
Lemmy was a god among men, so I get it. And it's really only enhanced by the shield and the fasces behind it,
yeah,
the axes.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely. That's actually hanging up in the winery. So
oh really?
if you make the trek to Bakersfield and you hang out for a glass, you take a picture with
I
the
will
old family crest.
I will find a similar suit with a white turtleneck and come out and take a similar photo. I love that.
So yeah, love to get some feedback on the wine. What you guys are drinking, what you're thinking. Uh, did everyone open the wine before the tasting, or has it been breathing for like a half a day or so?
Definitely not a half a day. We did not get instructions from you to do so.
No,
m-
that's fine. I was just
mine was
curious.
opened up at about 6, maybe 5:50 to 6 o'clock today, but I will stop drinking it and try it tomorrow afternoon and
Perfect.
see where it goes.
That's not our we don't give prescriptions like that. We just say, hey, if you want to do that, we serve it, you know, same day at the winery. So we'll pop a cork and serve it there. Our philosophy on that is we make wine that should be enjoyed as much as when you buy it, and hopefully it ages well. If you enjoy aged wines, most of these wines are made and can be aged for at least 3 4 years with
Yeah.
no issues. The whites are kind of not really ageable whites, but the Vino Bianco probably could age it for a year or two if you were curious about that. But the reds for
Yeah, that
sure. Nebbiolo, I think could age a while if you the reds age, and Montepulciano for sure can
yeah.
take some age.
No, it's interesting because it seems like a lot of the California Nebbiolos tend to be produced and bottled younger, like maybe 2 3 years, as opposed to Barolo Barbarescos, where it's a 4 to 5 year wait before those are even put onto market. It's funny, I get a lot of like licorice or anise on this. That kind of like dark, not quite minty, but definitely that black licorice note to it. Both on the
Don't
nose
forget,
and on the palate.
the reason you don't see a lot of them in the US until certain times is by law, they're required to age both in barrel or in bote and in bottle before release.
Right.
So reserve is even longer. So, I mean, they're usually not bottled and released for 3 years legally. So that's why we see older vintages coming in, not older, but a little older than maybe what
But
Tony's
it
released.
does feel like the California wineries, the Nebbiolos I've had, do tend to rush them out a little bit, like 2 to 3 years. And I'm not saying that this was rushed out by any stretch of the imagination, but and I don't know if that's
No
just,
rules to follow.
I know, I think that's it. I think it's just the sort of like tick of California winemaking. But I mean, the fruit is luscious on this, and like it's kind of fascinating to me that you're using neutral oak on this. Not that I'm, because the tannins are relatively benign. They're not those sort of like heavy, increasingly growing tannins that I'm used to on a lot of Nebbiolos. The tannins are fairly soft on this. I mean, they're present, but they're not overpowering.
I 100% agree, because one of the things that we were worried about was exactly that. From the get-go, when we were the berries in the vineyard, we noticed that the tan level in the skins uh, were a lot less than I would have expected. I experience with growing Nebbiolo zero before buying the first ton of Nebbiolo. I drank Nebbiolos plenty of times, but what we found with this, again, I think it's a function of California, the sun, the vineyard that it was grown on, with a lot of differences in San Benito and even northern Italy and Piedmont is uh, limestone. Limestone is throughout northern Italy and in most of the wine growing regions of Europe. There is no limestone in this vineyard. So you have sandier soils that really grow differently. The vine grows differently, and then oftentimes a little bit softer. And those wines tend to, drink younger better, from my experience at least. And so I think that all plays a part to that. I don't necessarily know what varietal clone this was either. So clonal selection changes some of that tannin structure. But yeah, I think it's a very soft version of a Nebbiolo for as young as it is. I would agree.
Yeah. But I can definitely see structurally how, you could age this for another, yeah, 3, 4, 5, even longer. Because it doesn't feel thin, or like the acid doesn't feel too overpowering. It just feels really nicely balanced. And again, there's kind of dark notes where you sort of lean into that tar. They always say that the nose on a Nebbiolo is rose petal and tar. And this one definitely gets into some of those darker fruits, it feels like. So I could see those lightening up a bit as as it ages a bit. But it's beautiful. Silence is not great on
Great.
a Zoom. So no, it's a lot of fun. And I know Nebbiolo is one of those wines that you need to have something like stewed. This is your osso buco, your like pork ragu type of porchetta type of dish with this.
Yeah, I also enjoy Parmesan cheese with it.
Yeah.
I know it's not a historical pairing of Nebbiolo, but uh, you know, that also is a crowd favorite for me on this one.
Yeah. I think what's really fun about San Rucci is how you guys are kind of pan-Italian. You're not focusing on Northern Italian. central, southern Italian. You're sort of, you know, kind of encompassing the entire country in terms of the grapes you're using, you know, from things like Falanghina, which is typically a southern Italian, Vermentino, kind of central, obviously Sardinia. And then with Ruche and Nebbiolo, you're looking north, and obviously with the Montepulciano, that's, you know, central to eastern. So
That's really cool. I haven't actually explained where the name San Rucci comes from.
yeah.
San Rucci is the blend of my mom and dad's, my grandmother's maiden name. So the San Filippos is my dad's side of the family. The Beccaruccis are my mom's side of the family. So you take the winery is kind of homage of both sides of the family, and so we decided to showcase both names in San Rucci, the San Rucci from Beccarucci's. And to your point, Chris, our family does span the whole uh, uh,
Peninsula, the whole
nation of
peninsula.
Italy. Yeah, the peninsula. Yeah. So my mom's side of the family is Abruzzo and Tuscany. My dad's a Sicilian. If you ask my grandmother on my mom's side if he's Italian, she'll say no, he's Sicilian. But yes, it's a little bit of the whole country. We don't focus on one specific area. Kind of just like the idea of exploring what Italian grapes are grown in California. Um, so yeah, maybe fits in there quite well.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, let's move on to our final wine tonight, your Montepulciano.
Montepulciano. So when you
Montepulciano.
have
Montepulciano di Bakersfield. No, I'm
this, you
kidding.
gotta have hand.
De nobile, de nobile.
Yeah,
de
exactly.
Bakersfield, yeah.
Montepulciano to Bakers.
Nobile is
Yeah.
different.
I know. That's the, yeah.
So this don't be causing confusion, Chris. It's the number one confused
Sorry.
wine world that Montepulciano is
Oh.
not Nobile.
That is true. Yes, that
That's
is Sangiovese.
Montepulciano, Montepulciano
Yeah.
di Abruzzo. Montepulciano di Abruzzo is a grape. Montepulciano, Sangiovese, Montepulciano, Sangiovese.
Yep. We get that a lot where we're pouring our Montepulciano and everyone's, well, I've been to Montepulciano. Oh yeah, when did you go? Oh, when we were in Tuscany, we went to Montepulciano. I said, okay, well, how was the Sangiovese?
I was in Montepulciano last month.
How was it?
I was in Abruzzo 2 years ago, where I drank Montepulciano di Abruzzo.
So that's on the bucket list for sure.
But did you drink Vino Nobile di Montepulciano in Abruzzo? Because that's the true.
Because I was on an Abruzzo trip, but I did drink Montepulciano, Vino Nobile, and yeah, well, they just call it Vino Nobile. I think they started just calling it Vino Nobile because it gets too confusing to call it Montepulciano.
I feel like somebody needs to do a trip where they drink the Vino Nobile in Abruzzo, and then you drink the Montepulciano di Abruzzo in Montepulciano.
Yeah, I think that just the thing that everyone has to remember is that Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is Sangiovese.
Mm-hmm.
And Montepulciano di Abruzzo, because Montepulciano is a village.
Right.
But Montepulciano di Abruzzo is a grape. The name is Montepulciano di Abruzzo. You have to say the whole thing. So my question for you, Tony, is like, technically, you have Montepulciano di Abruzzo, but you're not supposed to call it that because you're not in Abruzzo.
Correct. Yeah, so we can only call it Montepulciano. Yeah.
Right, because it's like Malvasia. It's like Malvasia di Istria. If you're not in Istria, they just call it Malvasia, but they don't specify that the clone is the Malvasia Istriana because they're not in Istria. They can't say it, and they get so confusing because the whatever is the place, and you know.
Yeah.
I like Montepulciano de Merz.
Yeah.
Hey, that is gonna be the new copyright trademark.
Exactly. Done and done. You're welcome.
So the Montepulciano.
I'll expect my case of Ruche accordingly.
Montepulciano is what got us connected with Ron Stiletto. So we started working with him in 2020 and uh, came across a wine business great posting for Montepulciano. It piqued my interest, and we've been buying and working with him ever since. Uh, the Montepulciano that is grown on his ranch is a cellar-facing vineyard, again on the eastern side of Hollister and that valley. The varietal clone that he has is very unique in the sense I have never seen a Montepulciano as dark as was made from that vineyard. You get extremely long sun days and ripening days from his vineyard too, so we are able to have a longer hang time with him and at his vineyard. And really what that translates to is riper grapes, thicker skins, which means more color, and then a a ability to get deep, rich phenolic ripeness. Uh, all that translates to more intense flavor of wine, and we believe a longer ageability of this wine. So this is our third vintage with him. Excuse me, second vintage. Third vintage and fourth vintage are still in barrel. We took an approach of both using both American oak and French oak for our barrel aging program. We really like the richness from the vanilla and spices of American oak, and the French oak really we think gives a little bit of a roundness. Our kind of barrel program, as throughout fermentation, our Montepulciano always reminds me of a Syrah. And so the aromas coming off the straw is a very meaty wine during fermentation. And so naturally, that's where our mind went in barrel programs. So our French barrels are traditional wine barrels that you would find in Paso that the Syrah guys are using, same toast. And Mariu barrels, a heavy toast. It really gives a nice roundness to the wine. Picked very ripe, fermented, and and large fermentation batches. We try to keep the fermentations warm to really pull out a lot of the flavor and color out of the skins. Um, on the nose, all I get is like dark pie
Mm.
and a plum. This is one of my more favorite wines that we make.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. We opened this last night and drank most of it last night, if you can kind of see there. Not a whole lot left, so we're saving one glass for this evening. But
Yeah,
yeah, what I like about this is it sort of has that balance between, like, when I think of Montepulciano, like true Italian Montepulciano d'Abruzzos, there's like that earthiness. That's that sort of telltale note to them. It just has that like dusty, earthy, like there's just like you're drinking soil. This one was definitely more fruit forward. But you got a little bit of that soil note, which I appreciated, but definitely has more of that California kind of sun-kissed, brighter fruit. But you're right, it's that like dark raspberry, blackberry, not quite, maybe like a little sugar plum, not like true plum, but like definitely has more of that kind of purple to black fruit note in it.
yeah. As the weather's cooling down, this is the wine to go to. Um, so we weren't trying to most of our wines aren't trying to emulate anyone from Italy. There's a few producers that are in Italy that are well known for their Montepulciano.
Mhm.
Uh, we didn't use them as a guide. We simply were tasting the vineyard and kind of on this wine specifically. Um, Kind of try to coax a style of wine that we thought the vineyard was best at making, and this was it. And like I said, It reminds me a lot during fermentation, like if you were making a Syrah, but at the end, it does not taste like a Syrah. Has some meaty qualities as a Syrah. Uh, Tannin profile is quite large. That's why we had it. It's a little bit heavier than Nebbiolo, so that's why we taste it last. The
Mhm.
label here, my grandmother, Loretta Beccarucci. Um, it's this was the first family photo to be put on a bottle. Her in 1955, and I've been told that I am wrong on what car this is. I've been saying it was a uh, 52 Oldsmobile.
I would have said Oldsmobile. That would have been my initial guess for that because they tended to be a little blockier than the Fords, which had a little more streamline. And I'll tell you what, I know Larry's a big car aficionado. So after we finish, when we unmute everybody, maybe Larry has some insight into what this particular car is.
Yeah, I thought it was a Roadmaster, but there have been a couple of people that
Mm,
have come in to the
Bianco.
winery and have studied the picture and have told me it was a Pontiac.
Oh,
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Again, my grandmother's 96. She says she remembers the car, but I think she remembers it by her picture with the car.
I feel like based on the hood ornament alone, you could figure out what that is because that's a very distinctive hood ornament on it.
Larry, maybe you can figure it out before the end of the call. Who knows? Um, but
Well, think
yes,
about it. Think about it, Larry, and we'll yeah, in a few minutes we'll get his opinion. He's clearly looking at it pretty intensely there. But yeah, beautiful wine and Montepulciano out of everything you've got here, even probably the Falanghina, I think Montepulciano is probably the most common grape. Well, I guess Nebbiolo now these days, but I have started to see a few more Montepulcianos pop up. But yeah, this one's beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, it's I agree with you. There are a fair amount of people making Montepulciano, and I'm very happy with this. So the block that we get is about a 2 acre block, and we do get the whole block.
Mhm.
Um, so it is a fun wine to make, and I'm really happy to have it to be honored. The reason my grandmother's on this one, like I said, is she's from Abruzzo, which is the homeland of Montepulciano, and it's kind of a fun connection, a family connection to the area. So it's a special wine. Grandma B was very happy to have it on the bottle. She whenever she gets her wine, she'll walk around and show everyone. She's come into the winery before. People had her sign her bottle as they bought it. It was kind of a she's a celebrity around the winery.
Is she still with us? Does she still come to the winery?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
96.
fantastic.
Yeah, she'll come down and we do a polenta party every year
Hmm.
as kind of a end of harvest party. And she's there directing traffic. You will sit here, you will sit there, pouring wine, talking about wine, signing bottles of Montepulciano on at the polenta night.
Nice. Have you thought about a polenta piñata party? That could be fun.
That could be fun.
Fill the piñata with polenta and see how that
With
goes.
hot polenta. Whack.
Exactly.
Depends on how you eat your polenta.
Well, you have a big, pan
But do you
underneath
eat
it
it
to
as
catch the
like kind
polenta
of a creamy, or do you eat it more as like fried? Do you eat it as baked? I mean, if it's creamy, it's
for
the
the
mush.
party.
Yeah, so of the party, it's definitely mush. They call it mush on the board. So it's definitely a creamy polenta that gets spread across the table, and the sauce ladle out on top.
Wow,
People then put their own cheese on. It's a family tradition.
Oh, that
So
sounds delicious.
that's
oh
awesome.
yeah, oh yeah.
It's like the
Uh,
Italian version of a low country boil. Like, just pour it straight onto the tablecloth and eat with your fingers and like go for it.
it really is. Yeah, that's a great way of explaining it. But yeah.
Beautiful. So speaking of which, like, yeah, to me, this is a wine that cries out for just like a classic bolognese sauce. Like I want ground beef, I want tomatoes, I want peppers, I want onions, I want just that like garden, richness, fullness with that acidity, that earthiness, that fruit. I think it all comes into play.
Absolutely. I know we put on there it's pizza wine, but it really I mean you can drink with pizza no problem, but really I think it shines best with heartier
Yeah,
fare than pizza.
absolutely. Yeah. A bolognese, a nice ragu, like that would just be heaven with that wine. Beautiful. So as we reach 8 o'clock and kind of wrap up here, you know, what what is your total case production now?
We are around this year after bottling will be about 600 cases.
Okay, wow. So very small.
Very small.
Nice. And what are there any wines that you guys have forthcoming? Any new varietals you're working with, or any things that you're really interested in, finding, working with, kind of new things?
Yeah, so we have a Vino Rosso that is being released later this year. The Vino Rosso is um, a red blend of a few different varieties of grapes. Sagrantino was one of the wines that's
Oh,
in there. We have a blended a little bit of Montepulciano in with it, a little bit of Zinfandel, and then um, that is coming out in about a month. We'll be releasing that. On the docket, though, we don't really have anything outside of that. This year we have harvested so far our Petit Syrah. We get that from the Adelaide district of Paso, and we have a couple more things still to come in. But really nothing outside of what we've seen here and our standard lineup of Zinfandel and Petit Syrah. The only thing is the Vino Rosso. We're hoping to add a couple whites maybe next year, so maybe I'll have to connect with you on that Vermentino connection you have.
I will hook you up with that and put you in contact with them because I know they've got it's a good vineyard that's got a fair amount of Vermentino, and they offered some to me this year, and we just didn't have a place for it. So,
Yeah.
but it's something we I think would go well. What's interesting is, there are kind of two grapes in California that when people think Italian varietals are sort of the two more common grapes that they think of, Sangiovese and Barbera. Obviously you're not making those and you don't seem to have an interest in those. Is there a reason for that?
There really isn't a reason for that. Um, we when we go out to look for vineyards we work with, we look for people that we know and trust.
Mhm.
And so far, the connections that we've made and grown those relationships don't have Sangiovese or Barbera. Not saying that we're not interested in making them. The regions that we've purchased grapes from historically have some Sangiovese and Barbera, very small amounts. But yeah, it just hasn't happened yet, I guess. I get really interested in um, things that are a little more off the beaten path than Sangiovese and Barbera. So
Sure.
maybe that's the the reason is the the squirrel in me is looking at other things than just Barbera and Sangiovese.
Are there any grapes that are kind of your holy grail of grapes, or things that you would absolutely love to work with that you're kind of looking out for, or things that aren't grown here that you'd love to see?
Oh yeah, there are a few. So Fresa obviously is
Hmm.
grown here, but that is one that I've been itching to try to make some Fresa. And then there are a couple of varieties in Italy that I've been trying to track down and see if there are great material for in California, and I haven't got them yet. One of them is uh, now that you asked me, I can't think of it. In Italian, it means red feet, and it's the grapes actually the rachis of the berry, the stems are as the berry ripens, it turns red, and so it looks like the feet of a bird. I just can't think of the name of the Italian grape right now.
What region is
That's one
it
of them.
from? Do you know what region?
It's from around Umbria, actually.
Okay.
I believe it's Umbria is where it's from.
Hmm.
When it pops in my mind, I'll shoot it your way and see if you
Yeah.
know anyone
Sure.
that has it. But yeah, that's it. Those are it. And I can't tell you all of my secrets, Chris, of what I'm working on of that. But no, I'm not. There's no real dark
So
secrets.
I did a quick Google search and it said the term Umbria red feet grape likely refers to Sagrantino, but I suspect that's not what you're talking
It's
about.
not Sagrantino.
Okay.
Piedi Rosso.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Peter Rosso. That makes sense. Yep.
But that's not from Umbria, is
No,
it?
it's not.
No,
Yeah.
that's further south. That's like Calabria kind of area, if I remember.
But yeah. Anyways, those are right. So for this year, no real new additions to the lineup. We have
Campania
our
region.
winery. I'm
Piedi
sorry.
Rosa's from Campania.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. Uh, we uh, we have our tasting room in Bakersfield. So we have we like to say it's the uh, it's the garage winery of Bakersfield. We are a
You're
converted
the best
warehouse.
winery in Bakersfield is what you guys are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like so. I like to say it's almost like a Tin City vibe. Although the Tin City vibe would be very small. There's us and a brewery behind us, so it's we're a small but mighty Tin City. We do all the winemaking there. We don't grow any grapes. We just buy from growers that we've befriended through our time in the industry, and we have a small tasting room. So if you guys are ever driving through Bakersfield, find yourself in Bakersfield, or if you want to come just check us out in Bakersfield, we'd love to have you. We're open Friday and Saturday. Fridays are 4 to 8 p.m. Saturdays are 3 to 8 p.m. So that'd be the best way to swing by.
There was an apology from our trio that dropped out. Their computer died, so I got a text saying, "Please forgive. They love your Montepulciano."
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the beauty is you guys being in Bakersfield, you're very close to, all of Southern California. So delivery charges, shipping charges are a lot less than they would be in other places. And, the beauty of these is I think we specifically in our email did not mention that you guys are a Bakersfield winery, just because I think unfortunately there's a lot of, you know, negative appropriation when people hear that. They
Well,
think,
their grapes aren't grown in Bakersfield.
no, I know, but they might. And again, if even if they think Bakersfield, they think Central Valley and might think, Gallo and just some of the stuff that comes out of there, even though clearly you guys are making fabulous wines. So I imagine, Bakersfield's a huge town. People don't realize how large it is, but that's probably a little bit of an uphill climb for you guys.
Yes. I know you've stopped by a couple times now,
Yes.
so you've probably seen the large spread out inner workings of Bakersfield.
I have, and I mean, I love your space, and I love everything you guys are doing, and that's why we're here to help you and here to promote you because we want you to, be more than Bakersfield, or we want to show people that, great wine can be made in Bakersfield despite their opinions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's been a
in fairness, we had a long time ago Sweets or Cellars. Great wine can be made anywhere, including
Sure.
your
Second-
West Hollywood apartment. But
Second floor
where
of a
the
West
grapes
Hollywood
come from.
apartment. Exactly. Yeah.
It's where the grapes come from.
they were making wine in their second story apartment in West Hollywood.
Yeah, now they're up in San Ynez and they have and they make wine up there. But for years they made it in their white furnitured, white carpeted
They
second floor
they
walk up.
literally just covered everything in their living room in plastic and brought the fermenters in and made that, and then eventually moved into a house in West Hollywood that had a garage that he could do that. But the best story, and for those of you that have heard this, I apologize, was his first vintage of wine. He took a half-ton fermenter, brought it into their living room, started the fermentation, left for work, came home, didn't crack a window or anything. So when he opened the door, he almost passed out because of the carbon dioxide that had generated and had been stuck inside the living room when he walked in.
Wow.
So you
Exactly.
see, as long as you have a good grape source, you can make wine anywhere.
Yeah. But
That's a
it's,
great
I mean,
story.
it is. But I mean, the beauty of what you guys are doing is you're making beautiful Italian wines. And like Allison said, it doesn't matter where you are. You just have to sort of overcome biases, unfortunately. But I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and that's why we love showcasing wines like San Rucci and what you guys are doing. Pam asked, is there anywhere you can buy the wines in Ventura? I imagine it's, ordering from your website directly.
That is the best way. Unfortunately, there are no we don't have any distribution in Ventura.
No. And if folks are in, you mentioned earlier, but if folks are in Bakersfield, want to do a tasting, what's the best way to contact you, get a hold of you to, set that up? When is the polenta party every year too, by the way?
Polenta party is usually around the beginning of November, so it's coming up. I believe this year is November 6th.
Okay.
Information is on our website, so I can put some our contacts in the chat here.
Yep.
Best way to get a hold of me would be anthony.merz@sanrucci.com. So we got that in the chat there. Website is sanrucci.com.
And this will all be, in case you miss it in the chat, this will all be in the email tomorrow when we send out the replay. So you'll have Anthony's contact information and the San Rucci email or the website as well.
Yeah.
There's one question I wanted to ask, which I did not get to, which is, given that, you are a winemaker with your own thoughts and techniques, and your father is a winemaker with his own thoughts and techniques, how do you guys manage the division of labor? How do you settle disputes? I imagine you work in harmony for most of the time, but there are probably times when you have to, you have some disagreements.
Yes, there are certainly disagreements. So usually when I like to say we arm wrestle, and whoever wins the arm wrestle goes. But
And you can't
realistically,
take your old man? Come on, guy.
exactly. Yeah. So it really will. We usually it's settled in a family vote. So my dad and I will most likely always disagree and will continue to disagree. But then my mom and my wife end up being the ones that are the negotiators and figure it out. We just stick with that. And that's usually how we settle the family feuds. But generally speaking, I would say the only time the disagreements are there is on harvest days when everyone is stretched thin and long days, lots of work, and it's manual work, so people are generally tired. And most of the time, we find common ground and are pretty easy to work with. But yeah, you're right. Italian families, uh, there's always some disagreements.
I mean, the good thing about Italians is they're, not passionate people. They're very level-headed
Never
and easygoing and open to
soft
compromise.
spoken.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Don't hold grudges.
Is your wife of Italian heritage?
Not at all. She always, why are you yelling? I'm not yelling. I'm Italian. No, she's not. She's also a fellow Central Valley native. but did not grow up in the wine industry. Her family didn't really drink much wine, and then we met at work, and happened to be she was in human resources at one of the wineries that I was working at, and we crossed paths, and now she is a wine drinker.
Always good to,
Congratulations.
yes, and always good to get in with the human resources people,
Yeah,
just in case.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a risky. It started out risky, but it ended well. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. If we're dating, it's not harassment because you work for
that's right. That's right.
Very cool. No, these are fabulous, and we're so excited about what you're doing there. And you are kind of, to me, the epitome of forgotten grapes, not only working with obviously very rare grapes like Ruche, even Montepulciano, less than 100 total acres of that grown in California. But the fact that you're doing it, in your home, off the beaten path, in Bakersfield, someplace that people don't normally associate with wine, and you're doing it at such a high caliber and such a high quality, I think is, exemplary of what California winemaking should be, and the type of wineries that need to be elevated and promoted and spotlighted to show just what a diverse, eclectic but high quality ability the state has in terms of making wine.
Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to share our wine with everyone, and we are glad that everyone enjoyed it. And thank you for the kind words, Chris.
You're welcome. And at this point, since we've only got 3 of you left on the call, but that's okay because we're going to send out the replay tomorrow. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask Anthony a question or comment, go ahead. I should point out that next month we have a Central Coast winery with a tasting room in San Luis Obispo called Do Nights. It's Tyler Eck and his wife Rachel, who are making beautiful Rhone varietals. We're very excited to feature them, and we will have that email out to you next week. So please keep an eye out for that. But very exciting, hot, young, up and coming winery in the Central Coast to keep an eye out for. So, and with that, we'll open up the floor if anybody has any comments.
Sandy and I particularly loved, I loved the first white, the Bianco
Mhm.
and the Rucchio, and Sandy loved the second two. Perfect division.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
We can
1
decide
and
who
2 and
takes
3,
what.
4. Yep, there
Yeah.
you go.
You
Excellent
get your
wines.
2 bottles to
Thank
finish. She
you.
gets her 2 bottles to finish, and
Yes, it
everybody's
worked out
happy.
perfectly. And I love the Oldsmobile picture, frankly.
Sweetie guy.
Yeah, you had you put on there you thought it was a 52 or 53 olds. So
Yeah, I have friends that have similar cars.
nice.
That's cool.
I can see Anthony, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You can.
We tell our Italian friends that when they should come to California and see the Italian part of our country.
That's
You know,
I
we've got
like
the
it.
tea, we've got the wine, we've got the mountains, we've got the fresh produce, we have everything. We got the weather.
We got cheese.
Back east, we used to drink Italian wine almost exclusively. So Calital, this is the way to go, definitely.
We've got
Absolutely.
we've got a whole kitchen making California style pizza.
Yeah, well, that depends upon whom you ask.
Uh-oh. Chris, starting fights on the Zoom here.
When
I
it
mean,
Pizza
comes to
fights.
pizza,
I love a good
Thai.
Thai chicken pizza. So
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, don't
In
say that in
Falanghina.
New Haven.
No,
Don't say
no,
that in New
no
Haven.
pineapple.
No, I've been to Pepe's and some of the
All right.
some of the
Okay.
guys in New Haven.
All right, you cool then. You cool.
All right. It's a terrible town with a horrible school in New Haven, but I've been there and I've eaten the food.
Are you referring to Yale University?
I'm referring to the prison that was started by John Yale. Yes, exactly.
okay,
The
all
lockmaker. Yes.
All right.
That's
Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoy the Calatal wine. And how long have you been in California? How long? Well, I guess were you in New Haven, or where you moved from?
Born in New Haven. just like George W. Bush.
Well, don't bring politics into
All right, I
it.
shouldn't
Yeah.
have even mentioned
No,
that.
we've only been out
Yeah,
here 8 years. We've been out here 8 years.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
You're still looking for a good steamed hamburger, aren't you?
They come frozen. They come frozen now at Vons.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Everything gets corporatized and nationalized, doesn't it?
Pizza's tough though.
Yeah.
Pizza's definitely tough out here.
Well, yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
get that true charcoal fired pizza like you can in New Haven.
Yeah, have
Yeah.
you been to the one there's a place in North Hollywood, yeah, that's written up in the LA Times. It said he went to Zupardi's in West Haven to get that coal. I think it's a coal oven.
No, Zupardi's is not a coal
Oh,
oven.
it's not a coal oven.
No,
But anyway,
traditional New Haven is, but Zupardi's,
But
which has
this place-
suddenly become famous, is they don't.
and
use
that's
coal.
his local place.
I mean,
Anyway,
it's famous in the way that like St. Louis pizza is famous, and nobody should be eating St. Louis pizza.
Not even to mention Chicago, which is really a cake made with tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's a true pie. It's a pizza pie.
I feel you on the pizzas. I'm a fan of the clam pie, but no one has clam pies around the West Coast.
Oh.
Yes.
that's what Zupardi's.
Yes.
Ew, that
It-
just sounds
that's-
terrible.
No,
Oh
God.
no. Good baked clam. Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
but the cognoscenti always order fresh clams. You have to get fresh clams.
Yeah.
And no tomato.
It reminds me when I was back east, like one of the big slices was the baked ziti slice, where they would put the baked ziti on top of the slice, and that became real popular for a while.
Oh my God.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fun. Fun.
Americans messing with pizza.
Well, have you heard in Italy they'll put French fries on pizza too?
Really? In Italy?
Yeah,
Where?
yeah.
Infamia.
Rome is where I saw it.
No.
Okay.
Well, there are a
I
lot
saw
of
tourists.
Americans in Rome.
Rome's not the
That's
mecca
probably-
of pizza, though. They have their own
Oh.
style.
I was
you
gonna
know.
say I've had Cali burritos with the French fries inside of them, and they're delicious. So I will abide that.
Well, if you have a euro in Greece, they put French fries in them.
Yeah.
They're really good.
It's just adding potato, so it's all good.
Fried potato.
Fried potatoes.
Better.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's all good.
Well, yeah, nobody's adding mashed potatoes or like raw potatoes. It's always fried potatoes. I mean, that's the way.
Well, on the subject of pizza, we could recommend Leonardo's in where is it?
Solvang.
In Solvang. They make fresh porcini pizza.
Very
Delicious.
good.
You'll write that down right now. Yeah, Leonardo's.
We've been going through a renaissance here in Paso of like wood-fired pizza places. So like Leber's just opened in Atascadero, and the Via Caravaggio closed, but there's a new place that opened up in their stead. So yeah, there's a lot of like true Neapolitan style pizza places opening up here at Paso, which is good.
Good.
Wasn't Via Caravaggio in Paso Wenlock?
Yeah, so Pat basically didn't want to do retail anymore, but he kind of sold the business to another guys, and they're like Via Biase or something like that. But they're in that same space where he was. So yeah. Exactly.
Pizza satisfies.
Pizza does satisfy. Little Caesars. It's good stuff. Detroit style. Boom. Closest we can get to Detroit style out here in Paso. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you in November for Due Nights.
Wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead. Who said, wait a minute? Sandy?
Sandy's. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm copying his website down. I didn't realize we were.
It's
Unmuted.
San Rucci with 2 C's.com.
SanRucci.com.
When she said, wait a minute, I was like,
In fact, here's a little trick. Look on the back of the wine bottle. It's on the label.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Or just do a Google search for Anthony Merz, and odds
Got
are
it.
don't do that. You might find something.
there's some
That
weird
Anthony was not me. There's
Thank
difference.
you.
Yeah.
Got it.
that German adult entertainer is not him.
Don't want that.
All right, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you next month for
Next month.
2 nights. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.